Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to the Renewing Your Mind interview series. Obviously, I'm Suzana Mihailovich. This is Makini Smith. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining us every week. Thank you for all of your support. As you know, Renewing Your Mind is now a bestseller because of all of you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. How are you doing, Makini?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Very well. Both Makini and I are super excited. We have a very special guest, which you all know about. We were just talking to this very special person backstage, and we are super excited to have her with us today. So I first met this incredible, well, actually, I feel like I've known the incredible Peggy McColl for years and years. Whenever I'd be watching Bob Proctor's material, I'd be watching Peggy McColl, and I'd be in awe of this incredible woman. And I remember, I don't know if so Peggy's listening and watching, obviously, at backstage. I don't know if I remember once, Peggy, but I remember watching you. You were doing a masterclass. So she was doing a masterclass, and I think it was the dream in her study. She had dream at the back of her study, and I was like, I was absolutely in awe of her. Back in 2017, I attended training in Toronto, Proctor Institute training, and Bob was on stage, and he said something really profound. And that put me in tears, just really went right through to my soul. And one of my dreams was, which many of you may know, my childhood dream was to become an international author. And Peggy was in the room, and she was back at the back doing her work, listening to Bob, and something just went right through me. And it was like a message from spirit. No jokes. It just came right through me. And I had 7 days after the training where, I'd been in Toronto, and just went right through me. You have to finish your book. I hadn't even started my book. And it's like, you have to finish your book in 7 days. So I walked to the back of the room, tears rolling down my face, and I went straight to Peggy. Didn't have a job, didn't have, much money left after that training. And I said, how much, I need to be coached. I want to finish my book in 7 days. And I need to be coached by you, not even questioning how much it was. And the experience that I had with Peggy in those 7 days was absolutely extraordinary. Absolutely extraordinary. We had so much fun. We got the book done. And since then, not only has that book become a bestseller, the second edition was a bestseller, and now our Renewing Your Mind. So this is the importance of having a mentor with the experience and a coach helping you along the way. So without further ado, I want to introduce this incredible soul. She's one of my dear friends. I absolutely love, adore this incredible woman. Peggy has been one of the top leaders in personal development for over 20 years, and she's been a student of these materials herself since 1979. I wasn't born back then, but I was only a child. That was when I was dreaming about becoming an international author, see? Her innovative and laser-focused work has been endorsed by some of the most renowned experts in the personal development field, including Neale Donald Walsch, Bob Proctor, Jack Canfield, Jim Rohn. My God, look at these names. Mark Victor Hansen, Caroline Myss, Gregg Braden, Debbie Ford, and so many others. Her special, unique and intensive programs, speaking engagements, goal achievement seminars, and best-selling books have inspired and instructed everyday individual entrepreneurs, authors, and organizations to reach their maximum potential. And Peggy's purpose-driven mission is to help you discover your life, discover and live your destiny, making a positive contribution to the lives of hundreds of millions. So please give a warm welcome, a standing ovation to the incredible Peggy McColl. Hello, Peggy.
Welcome, Peggy.
Hi, Makina. Great to be with you, lovelies.
Thank you for being with us.
You know, when Suzana, you said give her a standing ovation, I used to write in my gratitude journal in the morning before my talks that I was grateful for my standing ovation, or for the standing ovation that I would receive. And you just reminded me that I haven't written that for a long time, because, you know, we've been captivated in our homes for a little while. And so there haven't been a lot of stages to jump onto. Oh, your line's muted.
We were both muted, Suzana.
So you've just received one. This was an international standing ovation from people all over the world. So there you go. There you go. Welcome, Peggy. It's great to have you. So tell us a bit more about yourself. You know, I've just given a bit of a summary of you, who you are, what you've achieved in your work. Tell us, you know, is there anything else that you'd love to share?
Sure. You know, I feel like a proud mama, if you will. And I'm not talking about my son. I'm a proud mama of you, Suzana, and what you've done, and what you've done with Makini as well. And, you know, when you were sharing how you and I had come together, and I ended up kidnapping you essentially and brought you back home with me. Hey, honey, I'm bringing home a stranger. And we had the best time. I mean, it really was. And I was thinking about how perfect that is, and how we attract based on who we are, right? And I really believe that I'm here. I've been put on this planet to help others, to help uplift others, not from an ego point of view, but from helping you, helping Makini, helping anyone that wants to get their voice out. And also, while you're introducing me, I was thinking about something that Wayne Dyer had said, and he was a client of mine as well. Before his passing. And Wayne used to say this on stage. So this was a public thing. He used to say, if you squeeze an orange and orange juice comes out, it's because it was in there. And I think about how sometimes that example is used in a negative way. It talks about when people are panicked. You know, it's like, well, if you're panicky, well, it's because you had it in you, right? Or if you're stressed, it's because it was in you. But what immediately came to my mind, Suzana, is when you were doing the introduction, is that book and the books, because now you've got 2, Makini has 5, they were in you, and there's more, and there's so much more. And I remember this very vividly when you were writing your book, and we were at my cottage at the time. And when you were writing your book, and then you go off and you'd write for a while, and you'd come out and you know, you shared with me what you had written. I was so blown away. What blew me away was the depth of understanding of what you have for these materials, and the brilliance that you have in explaining it the way that you wrote your book. So that came to my mind when you're introducing me, is you squeeze an orange, the orange juice comes out. It's like Suzana made a decision. She squeezed, out came this book, out came another book, out came a collaborative book with Makini. And it just, you know, the truth is that the ability, the power, it's within everyone. It's just who decides to step up, right? Like Makini, you're talking about your podcast, one of the most popular podcasts in the world. Well, you know, anyone could have done it, but you did. You stood up, you took action, you moved on it. And, you know, look what you created. And I just love, so for me, I mean, Suzana asked me to explain a little bit more about me. I love helping bring out the best in people. I think that's why I'm put on earth, is to help people shine, help them, you know, really explore the geniusness that's within them, the greatness that's within them, so that it has this wonderful positive ripple effect. It's not just, you know, we're all going to hold it and be selfish about it. We're going to share it with the world, and we're going to share it in a way that uplifts the world.
Absolutely. Absolutely. For sure. 100%. And that's what the world really needs, isn't it? It needs our
right.
shine. Yeah. I've really got to share a comment just for a second. So that Leslie Ewan said, yay, welcome, Peggy, from down under Tasmania, Australia. We love you from all over the world. Love brother Wayne Dyer and best buddy for over 20 years, Bob Proctor, and all the rest. Love, love, love. So I squeeze my orange in as every yippee. I just had to share that. I just thought that was such a wonderful comment, and so
Did you see
well.
the picture? Did you see the Wonder Woman picture?
Yeah.
The Wonder Woman.
Yes. Leslie, you know,
when, Leslie is a Wonder Woman.
Yeah, she's a Wonder Woman, all right. I love it. And you know, when I saw the picture, it reminded me of, you remember Bob used to have his events in LA, Suzana? Well, you're probably at them as well, right? His paradigm shift events, and I was very blessed to speak at all of his events. Well, one of the ladies that sat at my table, because I had a VIP table at the events, was the original Wonder Woman. That's why it sort of caught my attention. Yeah, Kathy. Oh my God, what the heck's her last name?
What?
Oh, I'm blanking on her last name. Kathy. And, you know, she, her and I we were texting each other. I haven't talked to her actually since the event, since Bob's events sort of stopped before COVID. But I saw her at the last event. She always sat at my table as my guest. And we talked about different projects that she was working on. She wanted some help
Carol
on.
says Linda Carter. Was that her name?
Linda Carter.
It was before Linda Carter.
Okay.
Let me see if I can find her. I'm not going anywhere, but
and your audience knows the name, just put it in the comments. So it's not Linda Carter. I used to love her as a kid. I know who she is. I can see her face. Oh,
Mark, can you grab them?
Kathy Lee Crosby. That's it.
Kathy Lee
Crosby. That's who the original. I mean, we're going back, right? Probably before you're born.
Yes.
So, Peggy, you've been like a mentor and a coach to hundreds of people for decades, and yet you're more passionate and more on purpose than ever. What gets you up in the morning? Like, what keeps that passion burning inside you?
You know, that question just gives me goosebumps, Makini. I don't have to work anymore. I mean, financially, I'm set for life, which was a goal that I had set many years ago. And I love that. And I'm grateful for it every single day. But I'm so in love with making a difference. I'm so in love with helping people. And that's really what gets me through the day, is knowing that I have an opportunity. I just look at every day as an opportunity to serve. I'm here to serve. I'm here to serve people in any way and every way that I possibly can. So that definitely gets me up in the morning. And then when I hear, like, we were on our Club Achieve class this morning, and one of my students, a lovely woman who lives in London, England, and she had shared with me just what she's accomplished in the last 6 weeks that I've been working with her. And it was just like mind blowing how her life has, you know, transformed. But as you guys know, that's not the same for everyone. You know, there's only a number of people that actually do really transform their life. But the truth is, it's possible for anyone. Anybody can do it. And as you know, it takes a lot of discipline, and it takes a dedication, use of your will. You got to act as if, you got to believe that you're already there, and you'll get there. Now, how fast, we don't know, because no one knows what the law of gestation is for a goal. But it really is the thing that gets me up every day. I love creating. I'm so in love with creating content and creating new programs and just finding ways of serving people better than I did the day before. And that's pretty much it.
Amazing. Amazing. You can really feel it, that it is your purpose, which I think, that's what we're all here for. And that's how we've attracted each other. It's a deep, innate purpose, and what a difference you have made to so many people. And that leads us to our next question. So our book, Renewing Your Mind, was basically transcribed from some workshops that we co-created last year. With the material that you teach and you coach people through, and we do also, and the workshops had such great feedback that we thought it was a no-brainer just to have them transcribed so that we can reach even more people through the book.
Brilliant.
So you are a master at teaching and coaching people with this material. In your decades of experience as one of the top people in the world in human potential, what do you think is the main thing holding people back from pursuing their dreams?
Yeah, good question. It's obviously a bigger answer would be paradigms, which are their beliefs, right? That's really what's holding people back. Quite often it's fear. They're afraid they won't succeed. They're afraid they'll fail. And, or a very simple one is that they don't know how, but the truth is we don't have to know how. We don't. Mm-hmm. I think that was the greatest lesson that I learned from my friend, Bob Proctor, is you don't have to know how. I met him in January, 1979, and it was very blessed to, have him be a mentor, and became a very close friend right up until he passed away this year. And, he taught me a lot. And I can still remember the first night I met him in January 1979, and things that he had said, and quoting Vernon Howard, you can't escape from a prison unless you know you're in one, and William James and Napoleon Hill and Earl Nightingale, etc. But that always stuck out in my mind, to understand that just decide what you would love. Like, what would you love? What would you love to have? What would you love to do? What would you love to create? Where would you like to go? What would you love to experience? And understand you don't have to know how. And you've got to trust. You've got to develop something that can be a real challenge, and that is believing in something that's literally invisible. But I think that what really made a big difference is the understanding of the laws and how they work, and understanding the power that's within all of us. And I think that's where where there's a lot more clarity, and how we get that clarity is through acquiring knowledge, and how we get the knowledge is through study. And so, why are people being held back? They're probably not great students, or they're maybe students, but they're in their own way. They haven't changed their habits and their patterns. And so, it could be just something as simple as that. But I think that once you make a committed decision, it's just like, enough is enough, no more. That's when everything can change. And that's what happened for me as well, January 1979, because prior to meeting Bob, I was pretty much suicidal and will to live. My life was pretty miserable. And I just decided, you know what, there's a better way to live, and I don't want to live like this anymore. So rather than exit stage left, which is what I had been thinking about, I decided to just make it the best life that I possibly could, and dedicate myself to this study. And so I did.
Wow. And I love how you wrote about that in your book, Savvy Wisdom, and then the sequel, Savvy Wisdom 2. And that change, that flip, boy, oh boy, when you think back to that, like what comes up for you, when you think back to how life was and where it was going, and then just that flip and things started to change.
Yeah, you know what? I was in such pain. It's like, think about somebody who's in physical pain. If you're in physical pain, you do what? You try and get out of physical pain. I was in emotional pain, and that's something that not everybody sees. They look at you, they don't see that you're in emotional pain. It's evident, though. It's typically evident in results, from bad relationships, or lack of money, or debt load, or, the way you're living, or even how you hold yourself. And I think it was for me, like I remember having this defining moment when I was on Yonge Street, and you know where that is, Makini, Toronto. I was walking down Yonge Street one day, and all of a sudden I just stopped in my tracks. And it was like I had this epiphany, or it's probably in the early 80s that this happened. And that's when I decided that one day I'm going to work in this business. I'm going to work in this industry because I was no longer in pain. It was like a realization in that moment. I don't have the pain that I had anymore. And it wasn't like an overnight thing. It wasn't. It was like a several years kind of thing. And you think about a body that is like in real bad shape, you know, physically, it's going to take a while to heal. And I was in real bad shape emotionally. And it took a while to heal the emotional side. I mean, just think about somebody who has no will to live. And that wasn't a fly-by-night thought that just occurred. It had been something I'd been thinking about for years.
Yes.
And as we know, like suicide rate is, you know, at an all-time high in the world, and especially with younger people. So I was a teenager and suicidal, which there are a lot of teenagers that are suicidal. And so that was really it for me, was the realization that I had been cured physically, emotionally, I should say. And so I just decided I want to help people get out of that pain, because it's no fun. It's not a great place to be. And I just wanted to go to sleep and feel peaceful, you know, feel relaxed, feel a sense of fulfillment, and wake up in the morning feeling happy and feeling grateful, rather than all the other previous emotions that were there.
Mm-hmm. Wow. You know, Peggy, you spoke earlier about, you know, connecting with Bob in 1979 and that impact, that, you know, how that flip happened in your life. You know, you've worked closely with him. You guys were friends for so many years. You mentioned a little bit about what you've learned from him, but what would you say is like the top 3 things that you've learned through Bob's teachings that have impacted you?
Oh, you know, I would say, I love that question. I don't think Makini anyone's ever asked me that before. Actually, what are the top 3 things? I'm often asked what's the top 1 thing, and it would be that you don't have to know how. But, you know, as you ask that question, I think about the man, you know, who Bob was. And to me, he was the most generous man I've ever met, by far. And I remember he used to say, generosity is the first law of prosperity. And I don't think he was generous because he was sitting there going, how am I going to receive? It wasn't that at all. He was all about, how will I give? How will I serve? And he took his business very seriously. I mean, he was serious. And what was funny is, because I got to know him, and he had this wonderful sense of humor. He really did. He had this crazy sense of humor. And you could see it sometimes, but a lot of people were afraid of him. Like you could see that as well. They're like, you know, almost like timid when they would get around Bob. But oh my God, he was relaxed, easygoing, fun, funny. And like I remember going on stage, and you know, he always gave me a hug, you know, when he was sort of handing over the mic, and he'd whisper in my ear, now don't F it up, but he'd say the F word, right? Which a lot of people wouldn't even think that he would know that, right? And he would always make me laugh. And so, you know, what I remember about Bob and lessons is, you know, 1, you don't have to know how, but 2, be generous, because he was the most generous person I ever met. And 3, have fun. Like, have fun. He was very playful. And as Suzana knows, because we played together too, we had some fun when she came up to Ottawa, and Suzana's very fun as well. And like I was called Party Peggy like years ago, and I think Suzana saw that version come out when she came to Ottawa. I certainly saw the Party Suzana version come out.
The real Sagittarians came out. That's Sagittarius.
That's what it was. The Sagittarians came out. But Bob was a lot of fun. And as much as he would take these materials seriously, he was still playful and still, you know, able to have a good time and not sweat, you know, the small stuff, as Richard Carlson would say. He was another client of mine, by the way. Don't sweat the small stuff. he ended up dying on an airplane way too young, way too. He was like 42 when he passed away. We just started working together. I had nothing to do with it. Anyways, we just started working together, and he had passed away. But I would say, you know, I think traditionally, if you asked other people who are students of Bob, that would not be their answer. But I knew him, you know, as a person, not just as the teacher on stage. And so I got to see, you know, observe. We also traveled together. We did events together for years. And I would say that, you know, just his generous side was such a valuable lesson to me. It inspires me to this day. And then that playful spirit side of him too still inspires me to this day. So I would say it's those things.
I totally agree with you on the generosity side of things. You know, when I first connected with Bob, his wife, Linda, and Colleen, that first year in connecting with them, it's like they all have that energy, like the most generous people you will ever meet. They are servant leaders, and their true heart is to like make the lives better of everyone that they meet.
Yeah,
Yes.
I agree.
Yes.
I agree. Linda's such a beautiful spirit, and Colleen too. But Brian, you know, like he's amazing. Like Brian and I have been like best friends since the 80s. I met him in the seminars.
He blessed us by writing the foreword.
Yes, I know. I know. No, he when you asked him, he contacted me. I don't know what to write. I said, okay, let me help you.
Crazy. But Brian, probably the nicest person I have ever known.
Oh yeah.
And nice in a strong way. You know, it's not, you know, a pushover nice. Like he's, you know, confident. Truly. And but just Brian is the most divine human being that you'll ever meet. So Peggy, so we spoke about a little bit about Savvy Wisdom, and in your sequel, Savvy Wisdom 2, you share your most scary and challenging experience of being diagnosed with cancer.
Mm-hmm.
And you face the most fearful, challenging time with absolute grace. And during those interactions I had with you, I'd check in and you know, and I'd get, you know, a few messages from you. I was just absolutely in awe of, you know, knowing what you were going through, and you share the story in here, yet your love and your heart for service, wanting to help even during probably the most difficult time of your life.
Yeah, well, it definitely was.
Yeah.
It was the most difficult time. But, you know, as you're mentioning that today, I had a client call me, and I had been mentoring her before I had gone in the hospital. And it was last year in October, I was in the hospital, and she called me today, and I had a flashback because when I was admitted to the hospital, I was in pretty bad shape. I was really sick. I hadn't eaten, and, you know, I couldn't hold anything. I couldn't hold any fluids down, like nothing. I was just vomiting up everything, even the pain medication, which was helping with my throat. And with this particular client, she reached out to me, and I had my phone with me because I have it with me wherever I go. And I was in a hospital bed, hooked up to IV, like the whole shebang. And she needed me. And I said, well, let's get on a call right now. So I sent her my Zoom link, and we got on the call, and I helped her to it. And she goes, where are you? I said, I'm in the hospital. She's like, oh my God, you're in the hospital and you just gave me a coaching session? I mean, it wasn't planned. It was kind of like an emergency, I need your help kind of thing. And I said, yeah. And she's like, I can't freaking believe you. Like, and it made me smile today because she contacted me today, and I just had this flashback to last October when I was admitted to the hospital, and she needed an emergency session. It was funny.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, and that's my, like, yeah, I just found that so incredible. The heart, you know, you're going through so much, and yet your heart was pure love and wanting to give to others. And I was absolutely in awe of that. So what kept you so graceful, just incredible? What kept you in this positive mindset, you know, during the most difficult time?
Yeah, that's such a good question. I have goosebumps as you asked the question, because I really believe it's because of the, like you think about somebody who goes to a gym every day, right? They work on their muscles, they become like a muscle man or whatever, like they're toned and hard body. I think that's what's happened to my consciousness, my subconscious mind. It's toned, it's like a toned rock hard body. Like I have a six pack in my subconscious. And I seriously think that, because I remember laying in the hospital bed thinking I should probably be feeling worse right now, like emotionally feeling worse, because, I wasn't eating, was in pain. I mean, they had to insert a stomach tube into me in order to feed me. And that was a completely unpleasant experience. If you read Savvy Wisdom 2, I wrote about it in there too. And the weirdest thing happened. I don't know if it's weird or not, but it kind of took me by surprise when I was going through that experience. And so for those that are listening, the cancer was in my tongue and in my neck, all around my neck. And so it was just a brutal play. I was getting radiation like 6 times a week, where I had my head, lay on a table where they strapped my head down. I had a mouth guard in and stuck in a machine where they radiated me. I lost the hair at the back of my head. Like you can see it coming back, but it totally got burnt off by the radiation machine. It was pretty bad. So it hurt to swallow. I couldn't swallow. I mean, it even hurt to drink water, to sip water. And so I'm in the hospital. They had to put a stomach tube in. I can't sleep. Of course, and I was telling my husband about this today, when they put the stomach tube in, they said, you can't lie flat. You have to sit up. How am I supposed to sleep? Well, it's kind of like your problem. And they would attempt to medicate me to sleep, but my mind was going so much that I wasn't sleeping. As my body, I could feel my physical body exhausted, but my mind was so alert. And I was telling them that in the middle of the night, I'd be staring out the window or whatever, but I brought my earbuds with me. And I had 2 sets of earbuds plus headphones, and I would just be programming my mind. I mean, I was just listening to my Power Life script, going over and over and over again. And I decided when I was in the hospital that I'm going to turn up the volume of what I'm doing. I'm going to, make a bigger impact in the world. And which is odd, because I know sometimes people go through experiences like that and they start thinking about, like what's most important to me in my life. I'm not going to work so hard anymore or whatever. Not that I feel like I was working hard, and my family is my priority, but it just gave me such clarity that there's so much more to do. And there's so much more that I will do. And there's so much more work to do in this world. And so it really inspired me.
Yeah. And I think that's the difference between someone that is working from spirit, from soul, from their deep inner purpose, from what they're here to do,
Totally.
versus someone that's just working for money,
You're that. That's who you are.
Yeah.
And Makini is like, if you're partnering up with her, I'm sure she's like that as well. I don't know her as well as I know you, but I know that's who you are. And that's, one of the things that I love about you is your genuineness and your authenticity and your deep desire to help people without any, like, you're not sitting there going, what's in it for me? And, how many shell bags can I get? Or what? It's not it at all. Like, there's no consciousness to it.
That's right. Yeah. It's Neale Donald Walsch said something a few months ago. He said, he asked, I had a chat with him, and he asked, would you be doing what you're doing if you were out on the streets?
If you were what?
If you were living in the street.
In the street?
So, yeah. So if you weren't getting paid, right?
Oh, right. Yeah, absolutely.
Would you still be doing it? It is your deeper purpose. So no matter where you are, you're going to be doing what you're doing anyway, when it comes from spirit, when it comes from your deep purpose. True. It's not about the money so much. Of course, money's important when you're in business, but you would be doing it anyway. You'll be helping people anyway. You'll be sharing this material anyway, whether you're in your mansion or you're living out on the street,
Absolutely true.
So, yeah. That's
I was
the
teaching
difference.
a class on that yesterday. And I said to my students, I'm teaching this class called MSI Entrepreneur. It's for people that want to create multiple sources of income. And that's exactly what I said. You know, you've got to be doing the stuff like make sure whatever you choose, because I go through all different ways of earning money online. I've been doing that for many years. I had my site up in 1995. And I said, just make sure it's your passion. Like you should be willing to do what you're doing and not get paid for it. Now, I'm going to suggest to you to be paid for it because, you know, you're going to need to live. And, but you've got to be willing to do it just because you love it.
I agree 1000%. And I think that's why Suzana and I kind of like were like magnets when we first met in 2018 at one of the Thinking into Results trainings. And, you know, we truly believe that everyone needs to learn about themselves through, you know, this material that we have put into this book, through the material that the three of us all coach and teach. So what would you like to say to our viewers who have a goal or a dream, but they're reluctant, you know, to invest in themselves? What would you say to them about, you know, working with the right coach or mentor?
Yeah, oh my God, that's a good question. You know, first of all, I think we all need to invest in ourselves. Like I wouldn't be where I am. I wouldn't be sitting here telling you that I'm financially free today because I was raised in a poor environment, but now I am a multimillionaire, and that didn't happen by accident. I didn't inherit it. You know, it wasn't, you know, somebody left a bunch of bags of money on my front porch. You know, it came from, you know, learning. It came from the study. And it came from, you know, expanding my knowledge and understanding and then applying. And you really do have to apply it. There's no amount of learning is going to bring you anything unless and until you understand it and you apply it. And that was straight out of Bob Proctor's materials, right? And I mean, we're all here to experience greater growth. I mean, even think about goals. The goals that you accomplish in your life, the biggest benefit is who you become. And the great thing about the accomplishment of achieving a goal is that you become stronger and greater, and you bring out a greater version of who you already are. And then once you do that, and you get into the habit of doing that, there's no end to what you can create. And it's like Napoleon Hill, who said, no more effort is required to aim high in life, to demand prosperity and abundance than is required to accept misery and poverty. If you just think about that statement for a moment, no more effort is required to demand abundance and prosperity. Now, it doesn't mean there's no effort. There's effort involved. He's just saying there's no more effort if you decide to go big, right? Like the sign that says behind my head, dream big. And so I encourage people to dream big. You know, the other thing is, this isn't a trial run that we're involved in. We're all going to perish from this earthly plane at some point in time. We don't know when. Nobody knows when. And I think a lot of people are, as Bob used to say, tiptoeing through life, hoping they'll make it safely to death. Well, I guarantee you're all going to make it safely to death. There's no one will escape that. But what are you doing in the meantime? So not a trial run. I say, grab, life by the horns, if you will, and just go for it. Like make it the best version of what it is that you want. And I've been in the place of struggle. I've been in the place of crying myself to sleep. I've been in the place of feeling alone. And now, I've got a wonderful husband, and Suzana's met my husband, Denny, happily married. We've been together 18 years. We live in a beautiful home. We're financially set. I just do what I love. I love what I do so much. Denny's been retired for like 13 years now, or 14 years, I think. He went to work one day and he was told that he was going to be commissioned to go to Afghanistan. And he worked for the military. He was a pilot. And I said, well, what are your options? And he said, well, you don't understand. There's no options in the military. You either go or you're violating the rules. And I said, there's always options. And he said, well, I guess I could retire. And I said, what do you want to do? So he retired, and he plays golf and plays hockey and enjoys himself. And, we both live a wonderful life. And so, I think people have to, realize that this isn't a trial run, and make a decision now, invest in yourself. I believe it's the best investment you can make, is to invest in yourself. Absolutely the best investment you can make, because, you're going to have returns that'll just keep coming and coming and coming. They'll just be amazing. I think back, Suzana, remember when in 1995, I bought a house and I didn't have any money, and I mean, that was a stretch. I really stretched myself in that experience. But, I just decided I'm doing it. I'm absolutely going to go for it. I trusted in myself, and I believed in the laws, and I built the faith, and I ended up attracting all the money and bought this house. And I remember Bob saying, it's not for what you get, it's for who you become. And that's what I was focused on. So I really encourage people to go for their dreams.
Yeah, absolutely. And I can totally, relate to that. And I'm sure Makini also, we had big dreams to achieve things in our business, and we still do, once you have one dream, you go for the next one when you've achieved it. But the biggest, and the thing that I tell my clients, is the biggest gift was the gift that I did not expect. And that was, the diamonds, and it was even a bigger gift than what the most expensive diamond could give you, and that was being more of the person that you were created to be, and understanding and becoming the person that that you weren't able to become with that smaller way of living. So that for me was definitely you discover the precious, priceless diamonds that are within you. So thank you so much, Peggy.
We appreciate you taking the time, Peggy, to join us and share your wisdom and share with the community and share your journey. Thank you so, so much.
I loved it. Every second of it. It was such a pleasure. I mean, when Suzana asked, it was like, absolutely, I would do anything for this woman. I just love her so much. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Peggy. And the feeling and the love and the respect is mutual. Absolutely adore you. Appreciate your time. And we have loved every second of being here with you. And I'm sure our followers, our viewers have also loved this time. Thank you for your grace, for your love, and for who you are.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. And now, everybody, so that concludes our interview for this week. Next week, we have another very, very special guest. So watch this space. We will announce that person in the next few days. You'll love that person. Wasn't Peggy just absolutely incredible, Makini?
I love her story, her journey, her wisdom, how she shares lessons throughout her story. Just beautiful.
Absolutely beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. What a way to start the day. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us. Watch this space. Next week, we do have another special guest. And if you haven't purchased a copy of Renewing Your Mind, what are you waiting for? It is a bestseller. You'll absolutely love it. If you love the interview today, you'd love what's inside this book. And here's to your success. And we'll speak to you all soon.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye-bye.